Okay, okay. Right, I'm recording now. I've got 4 letters to assess, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If anybody's got any questions, I might put some time on at the end. So, okay, right. Let's get down to business. So, can you see this? Can you all see and hear? Yeah? Let me know if you can. You can give me a sign in the chat box. Can you hear me? Everything good and clear? Okay, sweet. Okay. Now, I'm not going to refer to the case notes. One, because of copyright issues. And two, also, if you've done your job correctly, I shouldn't need them. If you think about it, if you were doing this in real life, the reader wouldn't have a set of case notes to compare your letter with. Yeah? So if you think of it in that way, if you've done your job correctly, I shouldn't need any case notes. However, maybe at a later date, I'll use some official OET case notes, which I can refer to without fear of copyright infractions. So, put some changes on. Let me see. Okay, now, first things first. You don't put a period, a full stop after Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Only if it's an abbreviation like Doctor, Superintendent, Admiral, etc. Okay, so you don't need to do that. So we just put that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Okay, okay. Writing to refer Mr. Scott, 70-year-old. Well, okay, but we can see that from the DOB, so we don't really need to include that. He's married. Is that relevant to what you're going to be asking? Maybe not. Gentleman, maybe he's a gentleman, maybe he's not, but still, Mr. Scott. So we have all these things which we don't actually need in the introduction. I'm writing to refer Mr. Scott for what? Now, the criteria of purpose, it says immediately. We'll take a look at this afterwards. But your purpose, it should be clear right from the start. What is it why are you writing this? Why is the reader me? Why am I reading this? I'm writing to refer Mr. Scott for what? Whose symptoms are suggestive of type 2 diabetes. Mr. Scott, who is married and living with his wife, is a bartender. And I need to know that because, okay, it is important to know that. And why do you have a comma? And why is it important? He's a heavy smoker and addicted to alcohol. Mr. Scott's weight is 74 and he's 160 centimeters. Do I need, right, so, right, first things first. Why am I reading this letter? Why did you write it? Where's your purpose? I'm writing to refer Mr. Scott for what? Then you tell me he's married and lives with his wife. Well, I'm sure that's very nice for him, but again, why am I reading this? You know, I'm a diabetologist. Does it matter to me to do my job if I know that he's married and he's happily living with his wife? Not especially. Now, the heavy smoker part, addicted to alcohol. Okay. His weight and his height, and he's sort of, and also he's allergic to shellfish. Why is it worth mentioning exactly that he's allergic to shellfish? I wasn't planning on prescribing shellfish tablets. So why do I need this? So regarding Mr. Scott's medical history, he had been. Why is it past perfect passive? You mean he was? Or, so either he was diagnosed with in 2006, or he has been No, I would probably, why not make it a simple past? He was diagnosed with depression in 2006, which he takes antidepressants. Consequently, his conditions were controlled. In addition, he had been found. When we know, why are you using past perfect again? In addition, he was found the HPSAG positive in 1996. Okay. Came to my clinic with a complaint of burning sensation on micturating as well as incontinence. On examining him, you mean on examination, both his legs were swollen and painful due to the presence of cellulitis in both sides. As a result, blood glucose, all those significant investigations were ordered. Well, investigations are actually tests, really. You investigate. You can't order, well, you can order investigations if you have a private detective, a private investigator. You can say, investigate this, but otherwise make a test. You investigate by conducting tests. So don't confuse those two. The test results show that Mr. Scott has urinary tract infection. How those shows? Now I know what you want me to do. You want me to produce an expert treatment plan. So, okay. So you can see there's a few problems there. One, purpose. I've got to wait right till the bottom to find out what it is you actually want me to do. And even then, it's not sufficiently expanded. It says your expert treatment plan. I'll tell you what, let me just get the criteria out. I was going to look at it later, but I'll do it now. I'll share it now just to illustrate this particular point. Okie doke. So let me just, where are we? Where's the meeting control? So I'm just stop the share. Let me just change the share to the criteria. Okay, if you can see this now. So let me just get my pen out. Right. So for a B, just in case you don't know, you need 2 for purpose and 5 for everything else. Okay, so purpose. Helps the reader get a quick and precise sense of what is asked of them. So the purpose for writing should be introduced early in the document and then clearly expanded on later. So I am writing to request, I'm writing to update, I'm writing to refer for your blah, blah, blah. That should be in your introduction or opening sentence. The purpose should be easily and immediately identifiable to the reader. So I shouldn't have to search for it as I just did there. I want you to do X, Y, Z, and then you are creating a narrative to tell me why you want me to do X, Y, Z. Okay, so that's the main point that I want to make there about the purpose. I'll just quickly mention conciseness and clarity. Irrelevant information. What doesn't the audience or reader really need to know? Is there any information that could be left out? Well, I think in that letter, yes, we could leave out 1 or 2 bits of information that don't really help me, the healthcare professional, to do my job. So, very good. Let's see what we have for the next letter. Let's continue. Okay, so that's the first one. Mr. McCarthy being discharged today after the amputation. He requires your continuing care and physiotherapy support. So you see the difference here between the previous letter and this one. Here, purpose, continuing care, and physiotherapy. Okay. On the mission, I would put his name, Mr. I don't know how you spell it. Well, it doesn't matter. Mr. McCarthy, however you spell it, can't be bothered to change it. Presented with a 2-week history of an, because you can count your ulcer, an ulcer, of an infected right foot diabetic ulcer, which he had not noticed before due to diabetic neuropathy. Her examination, oh dear, his examination revealed pus and wound gangrene associated with fever, while or and join those two clauses, his right foot was non-weight bearable. Therefore, antibiotics were commenced and something like surgery. Okay, that's not too bad, apart from the incorrect pronoun. On review today, Mr. McCarthy has made good progress. His pain has been more controlled. No further infection was noted. Currently, the patient ambulates using a wheelchair, because you can count a wheelchair. He is dependent on his wife for primary care, and she wants him to be discharged into, that's preposition, into her care. But physiotherapy and occupational therapy assessment indicated we don't need that comma. This would not be safe. Please note that Mr. McCarthy has had a number of health issues, non-adherent to medication, and also he suffers from moderate cognitive impairment. Okay, that's good. In light of the above, I would be grateful if you provide assessments. His stability, is he required medication, and he has a post-operative point into it. Okay, you know, not too bad. Not too bad. There's nothing that I don't need. I'll just change that spelling. Is it McCarthy? Yeah, right. So the purpose of writing is reasonably clear. Could have been spelled out a little bit more. It's sufficiently expanded. I don't think there's anything that I don't need. Okay, that's pretty good. Pretty good. On to the next one. Haven't we done this one? I copied it twice. I don't know why. Miss Sarah Day. Okay, I'm writing to refer Miss Day, university students. Okay, I don't know if we really need that. We can see from a date of birth her age. Who hasn't been suffering from episodes of a headache past? Right. This is somewhat long. You will notice the key words in the criteria are conciseness. So I'm writing to, you could have simply said, I'm writing to request your further assessment and management of Miss Day, who has been blah, blah, blah. A single sentence, and considerably shorter. Where's this from? The episodes are usually abrupt and severe. Well, that doesn't make sense putting that sentence there. So either you have, or you should have, a history section or paragraph. You know, in terms of a medical history, blah, blah, she has had this and this and this and this, but simply jumping straight in with no connection. The episodes are usually abrupt. That doesn't really make sense in terms of logic. Initially, so is this supposed to be a visit? So this is kind of mixed up here, this paragraph. I'm not really sure what is going on here. So it's always a good idea to have some kind of reference point in a paragraph at the start. Initially on the 26th, blah, 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 on the 27th of blah, 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 you know, have some reference to points of times so we can see a chronology. So the episodes are usually abrupt. Initially, Miss Day was commenced when was this? On the 4th of the 1st, she reported an increased number of attacks. Some joints on pains down the neck. As we as what? And the effectiveness of the idea. So that paragraph is not very good at all. On the next visit, 3 weeks later, Miss Day complained of persisting symptoms, in addition to experiencing what she described as panic symptoms or panic attacks. Her mother, who was present on previous visits or the last visit. Now, you've got last and visits. So is it last visit or previous visits? Expressed concerns about her daughter becoming critical condition. Miss Day was then commenced. Then Miss Day returned alone. Describe history of the appreciate. Okay. So this paragraph here is the main problem here. I'm not really sure what it's talking about. So what you would usually do for a visit, a paragraph, there's usually 3 components in this order. First, the patient presents and says blah 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 blah. What you find, what you do. Okay? The patient comes, says blah blah blah. What do you find? What do you do? So that, it's logical. That's what you basically do. The patient comes, oh, doctor, I've got a pain in my head. Oh, let me have a look. Oh, you have XYZ. Let me give you some aspirins. Isn't that how it works? So that paragraph needs a bit of reworking, I think. So, seems to be it. I thought I had more. Oh, only 3. Okay, and so I'll tell you what I'll do now. I'm going to go for some questions. Now, what you can do, you can either raise your hand and I'll turn your microphone on. You can ask your questions and I will try and answer. So, does anybody want to ask any questions? Any questions? Just put your hand up. I'll turn your microphone on. Somebody says, can I send a letter for correction? Well, if you do it now, if you copy and paste it here now, I'll take a look at it. But I'm not waiting around all day. Does anybody have any questions? Come along. You must have some. If nobody's going to ask any questions, I'll just go. I've got better things to be doing than sitting here when nobody's talking. Somebody's got the hand up. Let me turn your microphone on. Hello.
Hi, hello. I just wanted to know that which one is the better practice, like the family history and social history given the first para or given the last para? I mean, like after a couple of visits.
Well, right. It depends on the task.
Mm-hmm.
For some of the task, and again, without a particular task, it's kind of hard for me to say which. What the OET do now purposely is they include different letters on purpose because they know perfectly well that some people are lazy and they want a template that they can use for every letter. Every letter I can do this. That's not how it works. That would be far too easy. Every letter is different on purpose. So what you do first, go to the task. What does it say? What are you being asked to do? Then you have to think, right, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the reader and think, okay, if I were reading this now, what would be the more logical arrangement of information for me to do my job? That's it. I mean, it's not a trick. It's not a secret. That's basically it. The criteria, I don't know if you've seen those. We'll just take another look at them again. We just scroll up here. Okay. So we've got the 5 previous bands. They've just been renamed, and the new one of purpose. So they've basically said, due to time constraints, right? Mm-hmm. So what they have said, and if you watch videos by Rebecca from official OET, and Steve and other people, they'll say the same thing. The key is conciseness. as it says, the purpose should be immediately identifiable. I want you to do X, Y, Z. So depending on what the letter, the case is, maybe a history telling, you know, the reader about what's happened in the past, what has led up to you making the request that you are making. Now, for some, there might just be a couple of minor points that you think they should be aware of, which is of secondary importance. If that's the case, yeah, you can put it farther down in the letter. But as it says here, due to time constraints, the health professionals want to understand the purpose quickly, efficiently. That's the key thing. They don't want to be reading, what is it that you want me to do? Oh, here. So that's the first thing. That's the most important thing. That of purpose, quick, precise sense. And then what is necessary? What do I need? What do you need as a reader? If you don't need a history, if you don't need to include all of that stuff, don't include it or put it farther down. So every task is different on purpose, because, you know, they are not stupid. They've seen these internet forums, right, where they've seen in Telegram and on like Facebook, oh, here's the template, use this. And you often find that people with C++, that's what they've been doing. They want you know, right, everybody wants an easy life.
Yes.
Yeah, you, me, we don't want an easy life. However, having a one-size-fits-all approach, it's not really going to be of much use to you, okay? Every task is different. You have to approach it in that way. Go to the task first, put yourself in the shoes of the reader and think, if I were, you know, them, what would I want? And in what order would it make sense? Okay?
Okay.
It's kind of a long-winded answer, but, you know, all I'm saying is there's no one size fits all, you know, like a template. If you go down that route, C+ is guaranteed. Because if you look at it, and I've seen, you know, hundreds of letters, all the C+ ones, that's what they do. They don't take the task, the circumstances into account. So, you know, that's what you've got to keep your eye on. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Somebody's who's put a letter in, somebody's put one in. We just copy it and put it in. While I'm copying this, does anybody have any questions? What you do, you put your hand up. Hasna, I'll turn your microphone on. Okay, your microphone's on if you want to ask your question.
Sir, I want to ask about some case notes are very limited. There is no much information in it, like the one in the first letter. I couldn't find any information, so I can expand my sentences up to 200+ words. So should I make up information, or how can I?
No, God knows, right. Are you talking about official OET case notes or not? Because I've seen some produced by a guy, Ahmed. You know, you might know who I mean, and I've seen his, and they're about this big. There's no information. Official ones, or if you go to E2, you know, they're like 2 pages, and there's lots of detail information. It depends, you know, not all resources on the internet, because it's the internet. No, I can't actually copy that out, so that's not working. So not all resources on the internet are equal, I'm afraid. You know, like I say, I've seen some, and they are very restricted in terms of detail information. So I would only, and I say this for the IELTS test, for the PTE, for a TOEFL test, whichever test, because I do quite a few. Try to only use official material, because if you practice using some less appropriate, shall we say, material, I won't say shit, but I will do, shit material on the internet, then what do you expect? Yeah, you know, always go for proper official materials, because that's what you will encounter in the real test. If you practice using these extremely short things that you can find all over on the internet, that's not the situation that you'll face in the test. I mean, yeah, if you look at Jay's E2 videos and Steve OET on line, you know, they tell you you've got to identify the major or the important information, what's of secondary importance and what is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And then you transform that into a cohesive, grammatically correct, logical document. Yeah. So if you're using truncated materials, you can't actually do that. So try to only use official materials if possible. I mean, you know, I know why people use them, because you can get them for free on the internet, but just because something's free on the internet doesn't mean to say it's any good or worth having. What's this question from Seema? Do you want to ask it? Do you want to ask it? I'll turn your microphone on because I'm not quite sure.
Hi, Kevin and everyone. Thank you. It's very, really straightforward. Your point is very clear, but it's interesting point. You mentioned the formats in the internet. So why they don't want really to help people? They pass it. You said they are not stupid. You are right. That's the truth. But why? It's like a trick game.
Well, they want people to come and buy their materials, or they want to get some kind of reputation as a specialist. I don't know, but I've seen there's one particular guy, you might know who I mean. He wrote something in one of the Telegram groups last week, and he was complaining of copyright issues. Somebody had used some of his materials, and I took a look at them, and I have seen several instances, and they're far too short. There's no detail, there's no information there. If you compare them with official OET stuff or E2, there's a lot more detail. It's 2 pages. There's a lot more stuff. As to other people's motivations for producing these materials, you would have to ask. You'd have to ask them. But, you know, it's a fact. Every time I see people with low scores, it's because they've been using incorrect materials for practice. And when they come to the actual test, their expectations are different.
Sure.
And consequently, they get a lower score.
As you mentioned, you are right, because we as a human, we all like the easier way. You are right. So that's why mostly the doctors and nurses, they use this material in the internet, which is easier and free of charge. But unfortunately, as is not the proper format.
Well, okay. If you turn it around as a doctor, okay. Now, imagine I was sick. So instead of coming to see you and pay you for proper medical advice, instead I Google my symptoms. Oh, I must have Ebola. I must have AIDS. I must have. It's, you know, if you turn it around, it's, you know, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Completely nonsense. You know, instead of me going into town, seeing a doctor, paying for a doctor to get money, goes, oh, I instead go to Google.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So what can I say?
That's
Anyway,
true. Yeah.
will people ever learn? No, I don't think so. Anyway, have you got any more questions? Because I've only got about 9 minutes left on this, because it's the free version of Zoom, only 40 minutes.
Kevin, I have a question. Is it sometimes like the patient preliminary diagnosis is something, so about the conciseness or the very clear purpose of the referral, so shall be straightforward? We mentioned like the presumptive or preliminary diagnosis of the patient is like this. So we should always to mention for confirmation of diagnosis, or parallel to that, we can write for further assessment and management. Is it make sense?
Further assessment and management, but I would probably say, you know, if you want a definitive diagnosis, I would say so. I mean, you know, you've seen the criteria. It's pretty clear, you know, immediate, you know, which means what? It means, you want this. Okay. What was the wording? A precise sense of what is asked.
Okay.
So, what is it you want me to do? I am writing to refer Mr. So-and-so, blah, 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 whose preliminary diagnosis is for your definitive, you know.
Yes. It's more precise. Yes, it makes very clear. Yeah.
Purpose should be easily and immediately identified to the reader, so there's no need to search. What is it you want me to do? They don't want that, you know.
That's okay.
That's it, basically. That's what you got to do. The criteria, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear, you know. Okay.
That's right.
Anybody else? So, Ahil's got another question. Let me just go on to. Hello.
Hi, I'm again. Can you give me some advice about how to improve on cohesion and coherent?
Well, if you mean a logical flow of information, what you can do is have some kind of like time reference, so we can see a chronology. Yeah. So again, every letter is different. So so in terms of paragraphing, right? So you have your purpose first. Okay, I am writing to request, I want you to do X, Y, Z. Then what you have to do then is construct a narrative, because that's what you're essentially doing. You're telling a story why you want me to do X, Y, Z. Now, it may make sense in that case for you to have a brief history that gives me some background and then have a chronology. Or if some patients come to you over a period of time and the symptoms have kind of worsened, and finally you want me to do X, Y, Z, then a chronology, you know. So initially Mr. X came and this happened and I did this and this happened and this happened, but it got worse and worse and worse, which leads me to ask you to do X, Y, Z, you know. So including time references, initially 2 months later on a second visit or something such as that, you know, regarding his medical history, you know, those kind of reference markers, that helps to improve the overall cohesiveness of a letter. However, sometimes within a paragraph, like in the example we just had a look at, you've got sentences that are mixed up and we don't have a logic, we don't have an internal logic in a paragraph. So if you think about it, to a visit, usually the patient comes and says, blah, blah, blah. You examine, you find, then you do. You take action. So it's usually duh, duh, duh. So it's important not to mix things up within a paragraph. So the overall cohesiveness, that's important, but also within the paragraph itself, you want a logical flow of sentences. This connects to this, which leads to this, which means that, and finally, so yeah, so that's it really. It's, you know, just like try and make it flow. It's, you know, so again, you know, they keep saying these like key like words, quickly and precisely, and concise, you know, so there should be a logical flow. This leads to this, to this, to this. The patient came, I found this, I did this, I want you to do this. That's it really. Just so use time references or discourse markers to connect your paragraphs. Okay. And then make sure the internal logic of the paragraph itself. Don't be jumping back and forth, as I sometimes see. People, the patient said, I prescribed, and then the patient also said, and I ate. So patient did, said, I found, I did. That's, you know, if you can keep that within your paragraphs, and that should be fine. Okay, I've only got a couple of minutes left. Does anybody else have any final questions? Because this is a free version of Zoom. It's only 40 minutes. So nobody got any more questions? Okay. So I'll call that quits for today. I'll be doing live sessions probably every day next week because it's Christmas here, and all of my students are away, so I will have time to be doing other things. So I'll probably have some sessions next week. Probably not this weekend because I'm always out, but from Monday on, I'll probably have a session every day. So, okay. I'll be on Telegram for a while, for the next half hour or so, if anybody's got any further questions or points. I'll put this video on my channel, and I'll put the link to it in the groups. I'll quickly give you the link to my channel. You can copy and paste it so you can find it later. Just before I run out of time, I'll put the link. Where is it? Where's my account? I can't find it now. Google seems to be arsing me about for a second. Hang on. Okay. So I'll put the video. Oops. Everyone. Right. There's my channel on YouTube. I'll put this video there. How can we find you in Telegram? Oh, I haven't got time to put the links. This will turn off in a moment. So anyway, that's where I'll put it. So I'll see you later, probably on Monday. Okay, so I'll see you soon. Bye for now.